So, make sure this shit's still working. Make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. I think it was like a 10-second thing.
10 seconds.
All right, so hello and welcome to the Black Tower. I am your host, your guide, your brother. I'm the Sorcerer Armana Soul. I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here tonight. I know it's middle of the week. That's cool as shit. Appreciate your attendance. Tonight, I have a new friend with me, Zamara.
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 All kinds of stuff.
Hey there, how's it going? Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Oh my goodness.
Right. All right. So I caught one of your videos probably a little bit better than a week ago. And I was really, really blown away at the concepts and ideas you were trying to introduce into it. And I was like, holy shit, I like to talk to this person, and so it was kind of cool to get you here. And I appreciate you showing up tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think I've seen you in like a few of the group hangouts with some of the like friends that I socialize with from time to time, or I'm not really sure how I came across your videos either, but it was a little bit before we started talking that I came across your channel, I think.
Cool.
So yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. Now tonight I wanted to go over a subject that now for those who don't know, the priest magician of the Simon Necronomicon. What is the priest magician? What is the role of a priest magician, and how in the hell can you be a magician and a priest at the same time, and why would you? And for that tonight, I brought my dear friend with me, so she can kind of help me guide through this, because my girl here got some wild knowledge of some really cool
shit. All right, so you want to just go right in? I mean,
hell yeah, jump right in.
Okay.
What is it?
What's the difference really between a priest and a magician,
Well, okay. Well, let's start this one off properly then. Okay. So we're gonna start with the magician or the sorcerer or the witch or whatever the terminology that for all of you out there that you might have concerning this, whatever you call yourself, practitioner of any sort. So for a practitioner, you're going to be working with everything from angelic beings, elemental beings, demonic beings, shadow beings, so forth and so on. Well, when you're doing this, what happens? Most of the time, you have to rely on yourself in your workings, and you're also responsible for the shit that happens in your life. Everything from occurrences that pop up out of nowhere, whether they be good or bad. And sometimes you're like, oh, this demon is my friend, and blah blah blah, and the next thing you know, shit's happening in your life, and you're like, well, it's not that demon doing it. What's doing it? Well, in steps the priest magician. The priest part of it, the priest is the one who cleanses, purifies, banishes, exercises, and all this, that, and the other of the area that changes the energies. And what was the ancient word that they had for that there?
I was saying that magus, right, is meaning mag, like somebody to have power. So mag means to have power. A magus is a person who has power, and magus also means priest. And so it's really interesting, though, like the distinction that you just made. I don't think I've ever really heard it broken down like that before, as in like perhaps these are like two archetypes on opposite ends of a certain kind of spectrum. Like the magician would be kind of the one who performs, the alchemical arts and is mixing all of the elements, and the priest is the one that is kind of purifying them and cleansing them. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and then we were also talking, and I was telling you that one of the meanings of the word magi was guided. And by guided, you have to understand that, like we're going here in chat here. Soleil Jeanette says, "For me, a priest receives the priesthood of a deity." See, Soleil, that is exactly what I'm talking about. when we start to look at ourselves that we are the priests of these gods and goddesses, that we are mimicking or that we are imitating or that we are assimilating within ourselves and becoming in our own sense and self, then we are that which prays to, and we are that which is prayed to, so to speak. And that's where this is where the whole concept's coming in. And hello to everybody out there. If I didn't call your name, I apologize. It's freaking awesome. We got Necro Nikki here, man. I'm like, I only see like
Hi,
one or two
everybody.
of her videos, but like to see her here, it's like, wow, holy shit, that's cool.
That
Uh,
is awesome. That's exciting.
well, then again, I have a lot of on here on this channel in particular. I have a lot of really good people show up here between here and Dark Sorcery when we do our Saturday night live streams. Uh, Plus on Facebook, like I am astounded every day of my life at just how awesome all these people are. Because even outside of like when I'm doing these live streams or when I'm doing interviews, I'm doing any of this stuff, you know, these are people that are knowledgeable in their own areas. And see, and here's the thing, I never, I've been doing this for 23 years. I don't think for one second that I know everything. I may have been doing this longer than most people, but that doesn't mean shit. What did I learn? What wisdom have I gained from it? What did I learn to do with it? Well, all these cool people that I keep meeting, and they have like so many different ideas that like literally I take my fixed ideas and I'm like, okay, I'll throw that out. I like their idea better and work through it. Shit works for me. So Helen, welcome to each and every single one of you. Welcome to the Black Tower. But
That's awesome. Well, then I'm honored to be here. It seems rare to find a community of people who are involved in spiritual and like higher intellectual thought that are not assholes. I guess if I'm just being blunt with it.
oh, we're not assholes. We're just the kind assholes.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a lot of wisdom amongst all of you. So that, is always like having an extra ticket in your corner, I suppose.
Hell yeah. Uh, but one of the concepts, and I really, really, really wanted to go out there on a limb with a concept or an idea or a conversation. Now, I know for a matter of fact that you said that you have spent 3 years separated from society
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
And I imagine they refer to this as the path of the hermit. The path of the hermit is one where you separate yourself from the dross of the mundane or from people, where you come to find your own inner light, your own inner guidance. And just the few conversations we've had, it definitely tell you're there. And and so I'm hoping tonight that you can help me shed some light on some of these aspects, some of these parts. I ain't trying to push you, but I'm saying nudge, nudge.
No, I guess it's good for me to talk about because it does involve like, a bit of my trauma and I guess what led me into it. And now I'm at a point where I finally feel like I've processed through all of that. And like you said, I have found that inner light and that inner guidance. I just need to have the confidence, I suppose, to direct it and put it out in the world.
Oh yeah.
So what do you want to know?
Okay, so because I normally, honestly, I usually have very educated, seasoned practitioners, and this is really, I think when I think the term edgy, I think it's cool to bring in somebody who's like, okay, well, I never did rituals and haven't done blah blah blah, but I understand this concept part of it, and so I want to bring you in on this. So, so let's think magician or magi, mage, mash, and let's talk about that for just a minute. What when you think of yourself as being a magical divine being, or just being you, where do you see yourself in the cosmology of the universe itself? Do you see yourself as just this insignificant little piece, or do you see yourself as your own burning sun? I mean, I want to know this stuff.
As I'm starting to understand that this process is related to like my I don't know how to explain it, like our cosmology and the universe, I'm starting to see myself as that burning sun. I've not ever seen any of us really as, you know, these kind of insignificant blobs just here for, you know, temporary moments or whatever the fuck people try to kind of I don't know if it's pessimize it into. So when I think about being my own magist, right, and I have experimented with what I've learned from some of the concepts I've studied in ritual, but I know that a lot of it is getting yourself into a certain kind of mode, right? Getting yourself into a certain kind of energy and really, I don't want to like simplify it by saying convincing your subconscious mind of something, but that's how I started to understand the idea of spirits. Was that okay, these are not forces that we're really aware of, these are more like emotions. Like the first time I had a PTSD flashback and I was possessed by my emotions, right? And I was like, you know, what it really is that. And so I think a magus is not only somebody who I guess can control these natural forces outside of himself, but mostly the ones that are inside, you know.
You know, you're dead on, and taken from somebody who has taught a ton of people, the concept that you have is the basis of any growth. Magically speaking, like let's say, for example, you find a magical system that you like to work, and you're like, you know, well, I'm going to do this, and you go about it. You're going to need the pieces you just said because those are the beginnings of true understanding. That is the beginning of wisdom. And the path of magic is the path of the wise, or it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And I don't, I think it always is. Um, yeah, I think it always is. It's weird that we're at a time where religion is seen as like a priest is seen as something that's separate from magical systems. Um, and so you have like all of the religious philosophy that's paraded as in the same realm as occultism, and understanding that system, it makes it like, I think, very hard for people to get to this core truth, you know, unless your life, like mine, fucking forces you into it and then you have no fucking choice.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the other part of the hermit is like, I think it starts with a desire to want to know, right? Like not to want to believe. There was a point where I was like, you know, I really want to know what all this shit is about. You know, I was trying to read The Magus by Francis Barrett, and I'm like, this shit is gibberish. I can't get through it. I don't understand. What the fuck is he talking about? This doesn't make any sense, you know? And I was like, I really just want to know what the hell is going on. And it seemed like then I got into tarot, and even through that, you know, touched a little bit into Golden Dawn by studying Crowley and the Thoth Tarot. And that was like right before shit all hit the fan. And yeah, it is really intense. Like to go on that journey, like they say, I guess knocking the door will be open, but holy fucking shit.
Oh yeah, right. You know, part of why I said that it's the path of the wise and that you have the keys to the basic understanding of it. So let me be the first to explain it, or maybe not the first, I don't know, but allow me to be somebody to kind of throw something out there at you. So take, for example, all those forces inside you, okay? All the trauma, all pain, all these powers, all these forces, all these whatever, this understanding that you have concerning it. When you learn to master it inside yourself, when you learn to master yourself, when you learn to be to rule over your own emotions, your own thoughts, your own actions, reactions, stuff like this. And then when you step into a magical circle or into a magical system, and you're like, you know, you're gonna like, oh, I'm gonna call quarters. Holy crap. If you can control what they represent within you, holy shit, man. You know, when you start to call, they're going to answer. They have no choice because you have found yourself. You know yourself.
Wow.
You know, so never don't see the distinction in the two. The two are exactly the same. They're one and the same. And as far as Francis Barrett with his magus, yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. Take it from somebody who spent like I think it was months doing the Abermelon rite to discover my holy guardian angel, only to realize I already knew my holy guardian angel. It, some things are overrated, you know, but some things it's the experience and it's the journey, you know. Uh,
Right.
we have a viewer here that I'm not used to seeing, Robin Eaglesong. I'm fairly certain I know you and you know them because
Yes.
I don't know if you can see the chat on your end. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but they were saying something about tell your story, tell where you began.
Woo.
Are you do you feel comfortable enough doing that, or is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
something you
I'm
don't want to
cool.
do because you're not going to be pushed or prodded here? This is just your style, your speed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm totally cool with it. Um, so January 25th, 2016, I was driving home from dinner. I was in the passenger seat with my friend and two of his friends, his brother and his cousin. And we were driving home from dinner. We went to a super fancy restaurant. He was related to the manager, so we got, 50% off our bill. And we're on the freeway. A car comes speeding up behind us, and we didn't know what the fuck was going on. They kind of pull up next to us, and the person in the back seat, his brother was like, "Oh, I think they want to race," and my heart just sank to my butt. I was like, "Yeah, I don't think that's what's going on here." And I mean, in the span of 5 seconds, the person in the passenger seat rolled down the window. Um, Threw up a gang sign, pulled the hammer back on a Glock, and the passenger and the backseat passenger fired 13 shots into the driver's side door. Um, Woo! Yeah, I had a real moment of, okay, this is it. Um, and in that, I don't know if it was an acceptance or it was just something happened. And for me, it was like everything kind of froze. And all of a sudden, we were in a ditch. And as terrible as it was, he had only been shot 3 times in his legs, and I was only shot twice in mine. So we were out of the hospital in the span of 4 days and up and walking again in 3 weeks or so. Um, and they ended up finding the guys that did it. We were a string of 5 incidents, 3 young men, 23 to like 19, grew up in Renton, which is like 45 minutes away from me. And they were just going around shooting up outside of bars. They had killed, I guess, over the span of a month, 4 people. Um, so yeah, and what was, I guess, ended up being a driving force for me, or made me realize that um, that it was connected to something bigger, was when the detective came over and explained to us that that's what they did for a living. They went around shooting and robbing people, and they were really good at it because they could afford a good lawyer. And I went, what the fuck? Is nobody's gonna ask why this is going on? Like, this isn't just normal behavior. This isn't just shit that happens. And from then on out, along with obviously the spiritual awakening that had happened at the time, I started looking at, you know, the socioeconomic effects that play into the reasoning why these kinds of things are happening more and more often. Sorry, I guess that's a lot. But yeah, that's where I have come from. And I guess I've made it sound really neat and succinct, but in the process, in the span of a year and a half after this happened, you know, I tried to just jump right back into my normal life, get back into college. My student loans were all fucked up. So I ended up getting into my first class, and then all my classes were canceled. I had signed up for this internship to do programming that was just made for me, but I couldn't get up to Seattle on time. And I ended up getting kicked out of that. I lost my car in the span of like a year and a half. You know, everything that I knew about myself and who I thought I was just kind of came crumbling around me. But it's really a good thing. That makes me feel like the Joker a little bit to laugh about it, but
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I will say this. I think that's fucking amazing. I mean, you know, just smiling, just happy. I mean, you have friends, you know, uh, getting on here, doing your thing on your YouTube channel, you know, and and yeah, nobody can stop stuff like that from happening. But you know, that explains, you know, the conversation we were having last week when we were talking about the things that you're involved in and what you're into. I like how you took something that could have fucking stopped most people. They think that they're badasses. Until a gun is pointed in their face by somebody who is going to pull the fucking trigger. You never know who you truly are until stuff like that happens. You honestly don't know what kind of strengths or weaknesses you really have until you are ultimately truly tested. And just, you know, everything that you say, it explains a lot. It really does. Uh, you know, that pain is in the memory. That is going to be what fuels you. That's going to be what drives you. And if you keep taking it the route you're going, you're not going to take it to a dark place where it cripples you, where it poisons your heart, where it poisons your mind. You're going to take it to a place that, you know, it's meant to be, so that something good can come from it, so that something can grow, so that life becomes abundant and prosperous, not empty and barren. And, you know, and that comes back full circle in the subject we're having here. I don't know if you realize that yet. The priest magician, you know, this is, you know, some of us, when we're working through these darker magics and shit, you know, it's like I was explaining, you know, you sometimes you got to break that energy up. You got to, you know, you've got to hit a lighter tone with it. And even if you don't do this in a magical sense, you've done this, you've lived. I mean, there's it's
even
almost
my
staggering.
mom. Okay, so and this is like totally unrelated, but she had a business meeting where she swore to me that how these people were standing, it was like there was one guy here and the two people were standing behind him, but they were both facing her. And he basically, like, they basically ambushed her in the meeting. She was already like crying and shaking, and then she said that basically at one point his eyes glowed, right? That night when she got home, I have not ever, ever in my fucking life seen my mother act that way before. And there was a point in the night because we were fighting, and I mean, it was like, I was like, we need a fucking priest. This is ridiculous. I don't know what is going on. And that was my first understanding of like, wow, this shit is happening all the time. People just don't, you just don't see it that way. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the movie Split.
Can't say I have.
But it's about this whole concept of like multiple personality disorder, and this guy has a personality that can do these outrageous things and can climb up walls, and I'm like, what is the difference between that and what we would call like possession?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
you just touched on something there. That's a great point. For the last, I don't know, 20 years ago, I started off with a motto that "May the gods walk again," and it's been my goal to teach people, about the ancient gods and about how to connect with them, how to work with them, so forth and so on. But I've also noticed that on its own, this has happened on its own, even without me. Uh, that in on the world itself, look at the interest in these things. These powers are awakening from a slumber that holy shit, you know. And when you talk about violence and you're talking about bloodshed and things like that, what kind of energies do you think are honestly attracted to that? You know what I'm saying? I promise you, the angels and and divine sacred beings and these ones that are like oh, we help mankind. They're not there. They're not the ones being drawn and attracted to it because like attracts like.
Well, and I will say that, like, I don't want to get too dark, but there is an energy. I can't even really describe it, what it actually feels like to be in a space where another human being is trying to kill you. That energy signature itself, it just doesn't, it's like, makes your skin crawl a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, tell me tell me what the fuck is that? That's not humane. And that's the first thing I think is that, like, what is that? That's not, I guess, yeah, that's not normal, people my age. What the fuck? We were raised like this. What the hell? This makes no sense.
Yeah. And with these, it's one thing for the shifting of consciousness to be taking place that it is, but we have to also be aware that these things, they're walking. They've been walking for a while. They've just been awoke over time for whatever reason. Uh, and certain circumstances in certain parts of the world, some of these spirits never went to sleep. Some of them have always been awake and moving about. That's why magic from the Middle East, became such a big thing. Is because those spirits have been being fed all along. You know.
Oh, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. And I mean, I'm not sure. I don't like to get too dogmatic, but when it comes to like that side of spirituality, I don't know. I guess it's just the most foreign to me because it may seem outrageous because I'm half black, right? But um I grew up, I went to an all white school basically, all my friends were white. I remember telling my dad, like, I don't know what the hell your problem is. Racism doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure everybody knows it's not cool to be a racist, right? And so now I understand a little bit more context to it and that that's not necessarily true, right? Fuck, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. So I guess I have a very, like, I used to have a really American other cultures. So Islamic culture is just like, I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know if I could fuck with those deities. Like, I don't know what they're about.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's just as universal as any other religion.
Yeah. It's like the only differences in people. Sadly, and I hate to say this, uh, everybody they look at color. They look at color. They look at gender. I mean, just body weight. Just so many concepts there that's what everybody's focused on. Then when it comes to how we treat one another, how we do one another, those are first and foremost in our consciousness. And so that is first and foremost how we treat other people. Uh, One of the things that's funny is that I was a token white guy in a solid black school, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I can tell you right now, there racism exists on all fences. on all sides of the fence. I don't care where you are, who you are, it's there. But here's what you've got to do. You've got to, no matter what, I don't care if it's your weight, I don't care if it's your color, I don't care if it's your gender, I don't care what it is. What we have to do is we have to remove from our own thinking that there's a separateness. Because when you quit acting like it, when it's no longer part of who you are, then we're one people. Then it goes back to being humanity, not these divisions. I get on here on my channel a lot, and I talk about this division within our community, in the occult community in general. With the back talking and the arguing and the fights and all this other stuff that goes on. You know, it's okay to have your disagreements. It's okay not to like something. That's fine. Hey, to each their own. But don't make it a thing. Because it shouldn't be. We're one fucking species. You know.
Right. Well, and that's another part of it is it sounds really removed to say like, okay, if you're the kind of energy that has to consume to thrive versus, excuse me, being the kind of entity that can generate its own power. I mean, which is actually more powerful in that sense. So don't you want to be the person who can accept all ideas and perspectives rather than wasting your time arguing about bullshit? Because I mean, trolling on the internet, holy fuck, I got fucked with, or I didn't, I fucked with myself basically so hard when I first got onto this whole YouTube thing. Like, there are times I was sitting at this computer desk crying, all right, over shit people were typing to me on Discord. And now I think, like, what a waste of freaking time. Like, why was I even there arguing with people I knew I didn't agree with? Like, I didn't have to fucking be there. Like, come on.
Like I have a belief that if there is such a thing as a God, and notice I said if there is, what it would be is it would be very much akin to our what do you call it, the greater consciousness of the world of existence, if you will. So it would be all these things put together. Everything is one big, great big thing. And let's break that down simpler, stupider terms. Let's go with what you're talking about there. You have all these things, put them together. Isn't that the definition of omnipotence and omniscience? Is to be these things, and therefore, you want to go around claiming that you're a god, act like a god. Truly act like a god.
Right. Well, I think it was in, okay, it's Moonlight by Aleister Crowley. And it's a story, but I think there's like, I was reading through it a few months ago. I was like, I think he's secretly spitting some hot game right here, like some really useful occult truths. And he got to a point where he was differentiating basically between the White Lodge and the Black Lodge. And it has something to do with the cone, but it's basically, one is trying to push a certain perspective over all others, and another is just trying to, like you said, be omnipotent or understand the whole picture. I think
Hell
that's what
yeah.
I try to do, but that shit will drive you crazy.
you know, it's always
Like
on
trying to work in the community now, it's like I have to focus on like, simplify.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like what brought up the idea of wanting to do this video was for the last 2 weeks. So I've had these thoughts and these urges and all this, that, and the other, and they're not of me. They're not me. They're not who I am. They're not what I'm about. And I was looking at a magical system that I've been working through, and one of them brings up the fact that you're supposed to be breaking through barriers of yourself, and you're supposed to be, digging through, finding the parts of yourself that need cleaned up or that need, work through. And I was like, and the only way to do this is to break all biases. And I was like, I'm cool with that. I found out to a certain point I'm cool with that. My head's got shit going through it, and I'm like, okay, down. I'm stopping you, bitch. Nope. That's it. And so the very first thing I did was, so I go and I'm like, I'm going to banish the spirit because I treat all incoming thoughts, all anything to do with the mind as being equated to a spirit. Because it is easier to banish and rid oneself of a spirit than it is per se to change the way that you think or you feel. Now, what this does is it allows you to reach inside, remove it like it were a root, and pull up the weeds out of your garden, out of your internal garden. And I was like, hell yeah. And now I'm going to plant a new seed, one that's the opposite or one that I desire in its place. Because when you remove something, you want to fill its space with something. Otherwise, whatever you removed, it literally has like kinfolk that show up to help it out some to come back. I ain't figured that one out yet. But
Makes a lot of sense. And it's going to sound, it's almost like, okay, if you have an infection, like let's say you get an abscess, right? If you drain it and you just leave it open, it's going to keep growing. You know what I mean? You have to kind of, they'll put like antibacterial stuff inside of it and let it sit there. And it's like, ugh, that's such a, when you really think about like how it kind of relates to like, it's like, oh, I don't know how to explain it. It works on so many different levels. And so it's like this concept of thoughts also relates to like our biology and what we would do if we were literally trying to remove a foreign parasite from our body. It would be,
yeah, right. Well, see, so the other day when I was doing this, I realized that I got rid of the surface of the problem. And so the other day I had to do a full out straight up fucking exorcism on myself, which that's always fun. Oh, that is always fun because you got that part inside you going, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Oh, guess what that is? See, you have to fight even yourself. And so I went through this full out exorcism and I could immediately tell the difference, like immediately. And I was like, it's like every time I've done self exorcisms or cleansings or banishings on myself, I'm always surprised and amazed that I'm like, okay, I was actually right. That was, an incoming input.
that was some bullshit.
Yeah, because I would hate to know that I thought or felt that way. That I'm
Really,
fucked up
there's
that
a lot of like, sometimes you have, what are they? They're delusions and ideas, right?
yeah.
Or like just because we see something in reality, it might be real, but it can still not be the truth, or it can be an illusion, right?
Oh, you're talking about subjective, objective.
Kind of, yeah, kind of, right? Isn't that the way, I guess, you just have to look at it as, oh, fuck it, it's all relative. Like,
Well,
that's how
something.
I try to get through the uncomfortable, like, discord, I guess, when I'm being presented all the time with just like, oh my God.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like some things really are just inside our heads. I mean, they just are. And so it's just a matter of, delving into something that's more healthy for you or that breaks you out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because usually what's happening is our minds are fixed in a certain point or a certain direction, and we have to change the direction on it or change radio station, as my dad would put it. Whatever, however you look at it. But the thing is that there are some times in our lives, like, think of the experience you went through. Wouldn't that have been lovely if that had been all in your fucking head?
Oh yeah, I would have loved that. But no, not really, because I feel like somehow that would make it worse. Like, it doesn't seem like it. No, I don't know. I guess for me, it's like, well, at least it wasn't just like I took. took my own self through this crazy shit. It was something that was kind of like thrust upon me, or I can kind of write it off as that. I don't know. It would be harder for me to process if all that just happened in my head.
Right. It's like, I can remember the first time had a gun pointed at me. I was straight up chicken shit. I won't even deny that. Uh, and I was just trying to calm the guy down, back the fuck up. And I went back about my rat killing, feeling like, like I was a little bitty person. And they call this, the effect of, having your power taken from you in a sense. And but I looked at it a little bit differently. I looked at it as an experience that allowed me to understand more about myself. And then I went to, I was like, well, had I been a dumbass, I'd have got shot. So which one,
Is really smart in the end, and I don't know. I watch a lot of like Gnostic lectures lately, and they just talk about fucking ego, or not ego, but perhaps like the spirits, gods, whatever you want to call it. Like, if you don't have that central, I guess, like control of your consciousness, that shit will kill you.
well, see, that's what I was about to say. The next part. Then a few years later, I straight up had a 9 pointed in my face.
Damn.
And this was either 3.5 or 4.5 years later. I'm really horrible sometimes with years. Uh, and this time it was different. This time I had fully come into my own. I'd come into my own power at this time. And that thing inside me, you can call it ego, you can call it shadow, you can call it whatever the hell you want to. But when my daemon rose up, that daemon rose up big time, just like flows over you. It's a power, it's a presence. And
Damn.
I just turned around, I looked at the guy, and I just took the gun right out of his hand. I mean, just like that. I didn't even know I had acted. And I told him straight up, point another gun at me, and I'm gonna shoot you in the fucking head with it. Threw it down on the ground. Just turned and walked the fuck away.
Damn.
Man, later on, I was like, when it happened, I was like in control. And, I just went with it. Dude never picked his gun up. Dude went hauling ass for his fucking truck. Matter of fact, he had to come back and get his gun. I remember I sat down on this bench and I was angry and I was, just daring this motherfucker to be that damn stupid. And dude takes off. I guess realizes he left his gun, so he comes back, gets his gun, and the whole time, he pulls right up. So all he's got to do is bend down and get it. And he's looking at me, "Oh, I'm gonna get you, motherfucker! I'm gonna get you! Bring it, bitch!" And there's a difference. There's a time when you can do shit like that, and there's a time when I wouldn't suggest anybody just go out there and decide, go try to play Billy Badass, because sometimes it's called bluffing, and sometimes you get away with that, and then there's times like with that where it's like it's a whole nother experience altogether. That's why it's really hard to understand when somebody comes at you with such hate. You know that that's not normal. That's not natural at all.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And where the fuck does that come from? But I'm starting to have this idea that like we literally are part darkness, like my physical body, whatever. The first humans, they say, were like so dark. And this isn't like, I don't have conventional ideas of like human history, but they say like the first beings came out of like inner space, so they were dark indigo, and so that's why a lot of Hindu gods are blue, because it was like a blue black. And well, then if that's true, like I'm not sure how to explain it. Like, it just makes sense. We kind of came from shit. We have to become better than it. But damn, dark beginnings. Holy shit.
Well, see, no, that's the point. See, when mankind began, everybody likes to think, oh, we were this, helpful bunch. Fuck no, we weren't. We were survival. Self-preservation is the law of man. Has been since the beginning of time, when man first, was crawling out of caves or wherever the fuck we were crawling out of. All of a sudden, constantly, getting this, getting that. And I mean, think of Black Friday. It's so
Oh
stupid, but
my
I have to use it. Think of these low vibrational idiots that go out there and are having fist fights and trying to run you over and pick up your packages and run off with them because they wanted that buy or that sell or item or whatever the fuck. Imagine it like that, but it not being over something that ridiculous. You know, and this is where mankind came from. You know, we came from the knock the bitch over the head, drag back to your cave, to this, the social etiquette type personalities that, that we're having and that we're at war with because we're not as far removed from our primal self as we want to believe. Yeah, we're oh, I had a really good friend
We
tell me,
are the fucking Walking Dead,
oh,
right?
do what?
I said we are the Walking Dead, right? That's one of the biggest jokes. Is like zombies were created as a cultural meme, you
Well,
know, for our own culture. So I think what's powerful about The Walking Dead, right, is if you start from the beginning, the first zombie he kills, he's all out of breath. It's like this big fucking ordeal. 8th fucking season, they're so good at killing zombies. It's not even a thing. Like they have fought off hordes of fucking zombies. It's not zombies that are the problem anymore. It's other groups of fucking people that they run into. That starts to become the problem.
yeah.
And
Would you
I
call
think
that?
that's so interesting. We're
Would you
so
call that evolution or de-evolution?
de-evolution, I would say. That's why I think it's like a cultural meme, right? This is something we should look at and learn from the best that we can, like, because it just doesn't make any sense
Yeah.
at this point. Like, we can think finally about, holy fuck, if my life could end any second because somebody's trying to kill me, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to, I guess, go about and treat each other like we don't matter if that's more likely to make this shit occur. And we need, an economy and I guess a sense of community that reflects that. But it's normal to be afraid of people because you could get shot driving home from dinner.
Well, see,
Like,
I walk a very dark path, and I work with the old ones and stuff like that. And these are all primal powers. I mean, just extremely primal. And a lot of them are beyond comprehension. So you have to use masks and certain deific forms or names to work with them. But the thing is that with some of the resources out there, some of what they're saying is that that when or if they return, blah blah blah, that they will teach mankind new ways of lawlessness, of of enjoying pleasure without all the laws and the rules and all this that and the other. Well, I kind of agree with that, which is part of why I had to exercise advantage myself or certain aspects because when you're trying to find the key of how you connect with something that ancient, it changes you, and you have to keep an eye on that. You have to make sure that you're staying well grounded. And when doing this, when working through this path working and stuff, I was coming to realize that that I'm sitting there and I'm like, there are so many TV shows that you could talk about, where they show this examples, The Walking Dead, Z Nation. I don't know, there's like tons of them, uh, and they're talking about all these old powers and these old ways of being. And then I was asking you about, whether you consider that evolution or de-evolution. Well, here's the thing: that which is old shall be new, and that which is new shall be old. And it reminds me that mankind has one of two options: to either to de-evolve, or to go beyond any concepts or constructs that we are aware of or consciously aware of in this day and age now. And be honest with you, I think that we're just animals with an intellect, and that's not a bad thing. It is what it is. We're the apex until a better apex comes along. And how do you deal, and not necessarily cope, but how do you deal with that kind of a concept that, that we only have one of two ways to go? And that's why all these workings that, that us practitioners, everything that we're doing, no matter how far down the road or if you're a beginner, you're going to come to a point in your own practice when you're going to be like, oh, I know this and I know that, and oh, there's nothing new. Well, then you're going to understand that it's not about what's already been put out in book forms or, digital formats or anything else, or, what great order there is or any of these other things.
Right. It's
But
about what you do and your art.
exactly, and it's going, it's going to all come down to, it's you will be forced to face the shadow, just straight up. You will be forced to face the void, to cross the abyss. There'll be no other choice because to stay on this path, it is a lifelong path, and I'm not talking about my personal path. I'm talking about anybody out there, whatever your path is, no matter what your system is. You're going to find evolution occurs at its own rate individually for you. You're going to find that you are going to get out of something only what you're going to get out of it. And this is based on so many different things, whether nature, nurture, whether or not you've worked through your stuff, haven't worked through your stuff, so forth and so on. You know, and that's why I'm constantly amazed. Like hearing the story that you told. I'm sitting there like, someone like you take this bright light that you become. Can you still see that 5 years from now? Can you see that 10 years from now? Or can you say, I am what I am now, and I will be what I'm going to be 5, 10, however many years down the road? Because I think a lot of the traps that a lot of us fall in is that we think, despite the fact that we're working for self mastery and that we are the judge and rule makers of our own fates, our own weirds, whatever you want to refer to it as, that we're going to have ultimate control at all times, all the way down the road. And the truth of the matter is that there are parts and aspects that we will not see until they occur or happen. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. Mm. I think that is one of the unfortunate aspects of going down any spiritual path, right? If you really want to know, the only way to know is through experience, right? I guess like you can study something in a book, but like I said, like it wasn't until I had an incident where I was overcome by my emotions or, and I mean, in really ugly, really, really, really ugly ways, really ugly fucking ways. I can't say that enough. Like, terrible fucking ways. But, I have that intimate knowing and I understand that hurt people. That sounds really flowery and kind of gay, right? But in the span of a few seconds, these three strangers were able to pass this on to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Or not pass this on to me, but lift, I guess, this kind of veil for me. And suddenly this fucking monstrosity literally was there. And it's like, I guess it's just part of it. If you really gotta do it, you just gotta fucking do it.
years, years and years and years ago, I used to believe in an awakening people. That changed quite quickly. I don't even think that took me 3 years to stop doing that, uh, because it came to my understanding that people will awaken when it's time for them to awaken. The thing is that the universe itself will do whatever it takes. It will go to any length it takes to wake you up. And
Yeah.
some people have it easy. And then some people like you were just sitting there saying, it took that, to, lift the veil. I'm sitting here going, holy shit.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of crazy life experiences, like really crazy. And so it's even crazier that I'm at a point where it's like, fuck, I think oh shit. I think I'm looking for more psychological equilibrium. Like, oh fuck, damn. I think I'm actually gonna have to get my shit together and stop being this kind of crazy person who's just kind of going with the flow. Um, but yeah, some people definitely have it harder than others, and I will fucking say that much.
Well, I will tell you this, and I've said this a few times. Some of the most powerful people I have ever met have had some of the worst beginnings. I'm dead serious. Uh, I don't care if it took I guess they call it a near death experience, but for some it wasn't near death. Some it was they actually died, and then were brought back, and when they came back, they were completely changed. Some people had horrific life events, so forth and so on. But I have noticed a trend that some of the most knowledgeable, powerful, capable people, they have had some of the worst shit ever fucking happen to them to get them to that point. But the thing is that, and this is the part where you can't wish it away. This is the part where you can't whitewash it. You can't, the light of the heavens take it away. That is your secret power. That is the source of your strength. You know, that's what I was saying earlier on. That's going to be what fuels you, what gets you through, what's going to keep you upon your path. So, you know, and for you to be able to embrace it and say, hell yeah, that happened. Hell yeah, that was painful. That's some fucked up shit. And I don't know if I can handle that in my head. But hey, you know what? You're working through it. Sitting here with me, you fucking poured your story out here on YouTube, and this shit is live. So
Thank you for giving me a forum to do it. And I mean, I yeah, I just really appreciate it. Like, you're so nice and kind and awesome, and I don't know, I guess it's important to share.
well,
I think
I
it's important for me to share.
I appreciate the compliments. I really do. Means a lot to me. One of my things is that, and anybody who knows me, I can be a lot of things, but what I'm going to be is what I choose to be, and what I choose to be is to step out with the right foot, step forward. I will see things for what they are, good or bad. But the thing about it is that if you can't step out, if you can't put your hand out in the sign of friendship, don't put it out in anger. I am straight up.
Damn, that shit is hella true. I mean, especially with like people in politics nowadays. Like, you see people posting these videos and like their faces are turning red, and it's just like, God damn, calm the fuck down, chill out. Like, you know how much like better the world could be if you could just use that shit for something constructive. Like,
Yeah, I
and that's
look
where
magic wand of Wayland. They go Tinkerbell, motherfuckers, Tinkerbell.
exactly.
But it being during the week and so late at night, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start closing us down. But the thing is that I'm definitely gonna have you back on later on, uh, for further up, because I mean I'd like to, we'll find a subject, something, maybe even just give you, the Zamara court. Let her start this and lead this. And for all the viewers out there, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you hanging in there and watching this. I know it's the middle of the week and you got to go to work tomorrow. Uh, you know, but thank you for being here and for hanging out with us and for all the comments and compliments and everything else. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I definitely want to get you on my channel as well. And yeah, I plan to be back. If you want to have me back, I'd love to.
Hell yeah. So, with that being said and done, I'm going to wish each and every single one of you peace, blessings, and power. Till next time. And remember, banish, banish, banish. But when you're done banishing, Put its opposite in its place. Be the priest first. All right, later, guys.
Bye, everyone.